Well, hello and welcome to I Love Gay today. And this is a bit of a blast of the past, and we are here with DJ Paul V from Los Angeles. How are you?
Hey Matt, how's it going?
Your your name when I see you out there now, and you're very prolific and on social media, and I see you on Twitter, and but it's always this name that comes up that I remember, being from that I'm from LA. You were one of the main DJs at some of these events, including it's the big one, Dragstrip 66. That was like Studio 54 for the West Coast.
Yeah, well, first I've been a club DJ since 1981,
Yeah.
uh, which blows my mind. And for really a long time, at least since I've been in LA, which is 1988, I've been a promosexual because I'm in charge of PR and letting people know. So, that whole, because that's a big layer of what I do. If you want people to show up, whether it's, in the old days, it was you would go Xerox the flyer and show up in person and hand them out. Now with social media, it's a whole other interface.
Yep.
Uh, but yeah, so yeah, it's been the DJing and the promoting and Dragstrip 66 is probably my biggest,
Yeah.
most well-known and beloved, event that we created here.
And yeah, I mean, for those that don't know it, tell us a little bit about what was Dragstrip 66.
Okay, so it's myself and my best friend, Mr. Dan,
Yeah.
aka Gina Lotriman.
Yeah.
And in 1993 or early late 92, we conceptualized, let's do, because we had done a few clubs that just sort of bombed, weekly clubs. And we said, let's try something monthly and let's give each one a theme.
Yeah.
And the idea would be that the crowd, it would come in drag for the theme or in any kind of drag. And so it was kind of the first like drag related club where you weren't just showing up in jeans and a t-shirt to watch a drag show, you were the show.
Yeah.
And to have like, and it was probably only 30-40% of the crowd would be in drag. The rest were just, street clothes, whatever. And so that was 1993. In January 1993, we were 11 days before Bill Clinton got sworn in. And it really felt like, maybe this was going to be sort of the pendulum swinging the other way after 12 years of Reagan and Bush
Yeah.
and HIV and AIDS and, losing our friends. And honestly, we wanted to create something that we would want to go to ourselves.
Yeah.
So that there wasn't any grand design. It was just like we want to do something fun. The music's going to be cool and different because that's how I DJ. I am not a top 40 DJ.
Yeah.
I was like the way that you think of an iPod having, 10 different genres of music you love. That's how I DJ. It's like I'm going to play Aretha Franklin and then I'm going to play Marilyn Manson. I'm going to do it in a way that it works, but you're gonna hear like all kinds of great music from basically the 60s on.
Yeah.
So when we started, like it was so stupid. We did a Tipper Gore and Hillary Clinton lookalike contest. Nobody really came. Who would want to come dressed like them? But um, and at the end of the night, we weren't even sure if we were going to do it again. But the owner of the club said, "Hey, this was really fun.
Yeah.
Come back in February." And so that was the beginning. The third one in March was Night of a Zillion Jans, as in Jan Brady. And that was the tipping point. It was like by that point, the crowd got it. It was like, oh, okay, we all come dressed in drag. So we had hundreds of Jans, we had Marshes, we had Cindy's, we had some Robert Reeds and Florence Hendersons. Um, and then on stage, we never really had a contest per se. Usually it was just showcase. But for that one, we did have a best, Jan lookalike contest.
Yeah.
Um, and so from that night on, we went from having like 300 people to like 700 people. And it stayed that crowded and more crowded and packed for the 11 years that we were at our original venue.
Yeah.
It never it never subsided. And it blew our mind, each anniversary, I would say to Dan, like it'd be like fourth anniversary, like, geez, I wonder how long this is going to go on. Well, let's just keep going. Seventh anniversary. Oh my God, it looks like we're still going.
Yeah.
Ninth anniversary. And so, it really was a phenomenon. Sometimes when you look at a situation, it's like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, yeah,
And I feel that's what we were. It was just, I always say this, it was just the right idea in the right era, in the right time, but with the right people.
yeah,
And it really, our patrons really are the lifeblood of why Dragstrip is so much fun, why it lasted so long.
yeah,
And we also, just one really important layer to what we did was we really welcomed everybody. There was no stand and pose, there was no attitude. It was a level playing field. And you could come like glamorous, pass as a girl, fish drag,
yeah,
to booger. We did booger drag, guys in beards, wig, really trashy, messy makeup. And we would treat the trashy, messy the same way we would treat the glamour girl, the same way we would treat the hot guy in a wife beater and jeans.
yeah, yeah,
And, you know, we've been told, this is what is so heartwarming, is that you don't realize it at the time, but people have said, you're the reason how I could discover I was queer, how I could be myself. I couldn't really be myself during my day job or at any other club. I didn't fit.
yeah,
So we sort of elevated the misfits and the freaks and the artists. And that was this whole stew of that kind of energy. So
yeah.
it's really incredible, incredible thing.
And you did it in the perfect part of LA. It wasn't West Hollywood. It was Silverlake, and that part of where that's the only place you can get away with those things.
Well, we knew it had to be on the east side. And I will say this, that's another thing is Silver Lake, didn't wasn't at the time was still a little sketchy.
Yeah,
It was kind of way off the beaten path, and um, it was not like Forbes top 10 coolest neighborhoods at that point. And so we kind of put Silver Lake on the map too,
yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of like, oh, okay, that's a destination part of town. Um, yeah, because our first venue was the Gold. It was called
yeah,
Rodolfo's
yeah.
in Silver Lake. We ended up having to leave there because of nefarious calls to the fire marshal. Not just on our night, but every single Saturday night. That's a whole other terrible
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
It was a I'll just briefly say it was a gay salsa night by a boyfriend duo that broke up. The bitter ex-boyfriend launches his own salsa night to compete with his ex-boyfriend, and to really screw him up, calls the fire marshal every single Saturday night. And every Saturday night was not, it was overcrowded. It
yeah,
wasn't to the point of like, oh my God, we're all going to die in a fire crowded, but it was overcrowded. So each time they came, they were like, okay, this is not going to work. So they got cited and whatnot. So that person is responsible for Rodolfo shutting down.
wow,
If I ever
wow.
find if I ever find him, uh, you know, fists are going to be flying.
Oh, but now you're out of all that, you're working on this it's not a documentary, it's the frockumentary of for
Yes.
this. And yeah, tell us about that.
Well, that's also too something about Dragstrip. You have to understand that we are very punny. We love play on words, and that's what our themes were. Like we did, Florence of Arabia,
Yeah.
turban renewal, uh, for your eyeshadow only.
Yep.
1 million years BC before cosmetics. So and we were inspired by all mostly like 60s and 70s pop culture and all that. And so yeah, so the Frockumentary, we knew we were going to end the club in 2013 on the 20th anniversary. I had always thought at someday there's going to be a movie about the club, because we had shot hours and hours and hours of archival video at Rodolfo's, everything from patrons to all the shows.
Yeah.
That is one other layer about our drag: no lip syncing. We completely pushed back against that.
Yeah.
All our queens sang live, and they sang live to parodies, rewritten parodies of pop songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, Born to Be Alive became Born to Be a Queen, fill in the blank. And so Phil Scanlon, who was a longtime patron, came to me and said, I'd really like to make a documentary about Dragstrip. So we partnered up because obviously I'm involved with it and I have all this archival video.
Yeah.
because that's really the gold, to feel immersed what we did at Rodolfo's. Um, so we created our team, and then our third member is Robert Guerin, who's our director of photography, but he's also been our editor. So it's
Yeah.
really a three-person team that's been slowly, working on trying to get this done.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
Well, it's interesting because we're talking about putting something together that's retro '90s is very hot right now. So that's a good that's an upside, but it's
it's
also
true.
it's also so poignant because of everything that's going on in the world of drag now. So it's like you've kind of really hit it on two fronts.
Well, another thing is really important about Dragstrip. When we started in '93, so many of our friends had already died of AIDS,
Yeah.
still dying of AIDS. And we were very, very politically active in terms of, like we were very inspired by ACT UP. You have to be involved, you have to be engaged, you have to show up.
Yeah.
You have to be angry about it because you don't get anything by being polite.
Hmm.
That's one thing that ACT UP taught us as the queer community. It's like, if you deserve rights, demand them. Don't politely ask. That was, you'd never seen that before.
Yeah.
So that was very much intertwined with what we were doing. And even though, you'd come and have your drinks, grab a butt, we always found room in the shows. Mr. Dan Gina would always find that moment to say, hey, there's an election on Tuesday, or here's the number for City Hall if you're pissed off that, we got raided, or there's a march on Sunday, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
We made sure that political activism was part of our energy. And now I feel, we we look back now, and it's like when we ended in 2013, we felt that we had kind of done everything we could. We did
Yeah.
20 years. We had 8 years of this great, incredible first Black president. America was moving forward. Don't Ask, Don't Tell went away. Gay marriage came in. You know, Acceptance of gay people in America was on this great little track.
Yeah.
And then, 2016 rolls around. We were thinking we were going to have our first woman president.
Yeah.
And instead, we got that vile, subhuman orange monster. I will never use his name, thank you.
Yeah.
Who basically gave the worst people in this country permission to hate everybody.
Yeah.
And of course, now gay people are the target again. And I'm just going to chide the kids, okay? Kids,
Yeah.
this is your moment. This is where you stand on our shoulders and you carry the torch. You have to be involved, you have to be aware, you have to vote every single time, because you see what happens when you don't vote. When you don't vote and you say, "Oh, it doesn't matter. I can't be bothered." Well, this is your life, young person. I'm my age. I've lived my youth. What is going to happen politically now is going to affect you for decades.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, young people, get angry, get involved, get organized, show up every time, whatever it is, but for sure, vote. And let's be honest, don't ever vote for Republicans. Okay? They have proven that they don't have your best interests at heart. They are doubling down on their hatred for us.
Yeah.
The way that they are targeting the trans community is just disgusting. And the way that they're, here's something I'm just going to say, okay? Have you ever heard the expression, every accusation is a confession?
Mm-mm.
Well, it's basically, what the term projection means,
Oh
where
yeah. Yeah.
I accuse you of something hideous when it's actually what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Republicans are, okay? They are, and it's documented, they are the actual pedophiles and the perverts and the sexual deviants. They are actually doing these things that they have always accused the gay community of doing. And you will not find examples of drag queens molesting children.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, and so the way they've painted us to be these horrible sexual predatory monsters, That's who they are.
Yeah.
And people need to realize that this is what you're fighting. You're fighting people that are projecting all these terrible traits that they possess on our community. And I, for one, I am not going to sit back and allow that to happen.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, mostly that's what I was saying is that now, it's not just gay people, drag of all things, drag, transgender and drag is at the forefront. And there was I've moved to I moved to New York, and now I'm in just outside of New York, about 2 hours out. And there was a drag show and performance just over a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Anyway, I was concerned. I was wondering, like, is there going to be any problems? Are there going to be people out there? Fortunately, there was not, but it's something I never thought that I'd have to think about.
See, I worry about that too. I mean,
Yeah,
thankfully, I live in very blue California. I don't think we have, certainly not laws.
yeah.
But you can go an hour outside of LA and they all voted for him
Oh, yeah.
and they don't like us. Um, and I really feel for my brothers and sisters in these deep red states. And I really applaud so many of them because they are still doing shows. They're
Mm,
still showing up. And again, that's the energy you have to have. We can't be afraid of these people. They're loud and they suck all the oxygen out of the room. But when push comes to shove, they're all fucking weak, pardon my French.
yeah.
Um, and so I feel like, us coming back and wanting to do Dragstrip 66 again is in solidarity with the, the current version of people doing drag and wanting to, maybe do something similar like we did or whatever it is. Just the fact
Yeah.
that drag queens want to still be out there and be seen. Um,
Yeah.
you have to do it. We can't stop. And I hate to say it that, I think it's only a matter of time before one of these crazy people actually harms somebody
Yeah, I
or
know.
kills somebody. And I don't want to put that out there, but it could happen it could happen.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what to say. You have to be careful, but don't stop what you're doing.
But you're also bringing this when you're talking about uh, uh, today's world. You bring this together. You have a 30th anniversary reunion on Saturday, and you're going to be capturing a lot of footage there as well for the Frockumentary.
Yeah, we just knew like it's been 10 years since we did it.
Yeah,
Um, and here's the crazy thing, Matt. I announced it, did like an email blast. It's going to happen. Put the on sale ticket on sale date, and 600 advance tickets sold out in like 3 weeks.
yeah,
And I didn't even really get to promote this event sort of on the outside. I really targeted our original patrons, our longtime supporters to make sure that they knew and they could buy a ticket first. And that's who bought these tickets. So the point of that is everybody who basically got a ticket is in their mid 40s, 50s, or 60s. And these are not people that are nightlife queens anymore.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of them are married with kids, literally. And the fact that, that's something about Dragstrip is what you could count on every month. Even if you didn't come every month, you knew that when you did, you were going to see all these friends. You were going to see all these people that you met there
Yeah,
that became your friends.
yeah,
Um, that's one other thing about the club that is just you can't predict it happening, but there are hundreds of people that are now BFFs, right? Best friends that met as strangers at Dragstrip.
yeah,
And there are couples. I can name off 10 couples, again, met for the first time at Dragstrip, dated,
yeah,
and have been together since 1997 or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I love
And it
stories like
just,
that.
yeah. And and again, you can't put a price tag on that. It's so lovely. And
Yeah,
again, it really warms our hearts to think about it. But so yeah, so we're calling it a 30th anniversary reunion.
yeah,
So, oh, here's one other thing. Blows my mind. There are people flying in. I mean, obviously, we'll have San Diego, San Francisco,
yeah,
Palm Springs. It's kind of an easy trek. There's people from Portland, Colorado, Utah, Missouri, Kansas, Kentucky,
yeah.
New York City, and even Hawaii. These
Wow.
people are these people are literally making a trip to Los Angeles to be at our reunion.
Yeah.
And so that again, heartwarming.
Well, I look forward to seeing the photos and the videos on social media that you'll be posting next week after all that, after you've recovered
Oh
and all this
boy.
is
Oh my God. And now again, here's the other thing, when we started, there was no social media. So
yeah,
I think that was also why people felt so comfortable there, because if you were just coming out, you didn't have to worry like, oh my God, someone snapped my photo and it's all over the internet. That's going to happen now, but that's the world we live in.
yeah,
And that's why some of our celebrities enjoyed it.
mhm,
We had some big name people, but we were not a celebrity club. They
yeah,
just, sorry, celebrities just wanted to come because they heard it was fun.
yeah, yeah,
And we had no VIP area. We had our backstage was literally a kitchen,
yeah,
because Rodolfo's was a restaurant slash nightclub, and they could just come be regular people. I'm sure some of our patrons have saw them on the patio or whatever, like, oh, I'm a fan and all that,
yeah,
but they didn't have to worry about like in 10 hours, it's on page 6
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. And we never actually even broadcasted it like, hey, did you hear that Anderson Cooper was there, or Drew Barrymore or Jennifer Coolidge? I will say this, Jennifer Coolidge, if you hear this or see this, we want you back this Saturday, April 22nd, because she did an interview for Out Magazine in 2015, and the
Yeah.
first thing that she says, because Matthew Breen is the writer, and Matthew said, I first met you at Dragstrip 66. And she said, oh yes, I would spend hours in the ladies' room just talking about makeup with the girls. So, and of course, Jennifer loves her gays and the
Yeah.
gays love her.
Yep.
So anyway, if it's Jennifer Coolidge, oh my God, who's now like, the hot it girl again, if she showed up, oh boy, I
Yeah.
mean, I would be like, I'm not worthy.
I love this. Well, I love all this is fantastic. I wish I was in LA. I wish I could have been there this coming weekend, but I'm going to make sure that there's links to all this, everything that you're up to on personal and through Dragstrip 66, so people can find all this and also be able to kind of just keep up to date with what you're working on, including the Frockumentary and some of the things that you have to say this is a time that it needs to be heard.
Well, I'll just say the links quickly. You could do dragstrip66.com is our
Yeah,
main website.
yeah,
DS66 thefrockumentary.com. I realize that's a jumble of a lot of letters. And then too, if you want to support us, it's tax deductible, and you can go to bit.ly slash D66 movie.
okay.
Uh, and if you want to give us $10 or $1,000, we love you. It all helps us. Again, right now we're just a team, an indie team of 3 people with a passion and an idea, and we really want our story. We think it's important. We really, it's in Los Angeles history, queer history, drag history,
Yeah,
um, and we want it told. And again, our younger generation is not going to learn about queer history in books. They're not. They barely can learn about it on cable or TV or streaming. So
yeah,
these stories are important, and like we talked about, inspiring the next generation.
yeah.
That's really part of our goal,
Fan-
is to do that.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to share your story with our audience here.
I'm so happy to talk to you. You're so wonderful, and I love how much you try to elevate and give a platform to so many different levels of the queer community.
Well, thank
And
you.
we need more of that too. We need to be more seen and more heard. And so things like what you do are really important. And I hope people support your efforts too.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to connecting the next time I'm out in LA.
Well, we do hope to come back quarterly. That's
Yeah,
my plan, to do like 3 or 4 parties a year, um, and to jump back in the ring and
yeah,
again do our part. to fight back against what is currently going on against the queer community, the drag community, and the trans community.
Fantastic.
We're ready for the fight.
Exactly. Well, thanks again. Great seeing you here.
Thank you.
Dragstrip 66. What is that?
This is one of the funnest, greatest clubs, and this is legendary.
Dragstrip is the place that has the hottest guys, the best music, and the craziest drag queens.
It was a place where, you know, you fit in like instantly.
Dragstrip came about at the time of the LA riots in 1992, and HIV/AIDS was decimating the gay community, and any self-respecting gay was politically minded, if not politically active.
Dragstrip was kind of an antidote that kind of enabled us to embrace life again.
You keep asking me to cry, I'm cute. I'm not Meryl Streep.
Dragstrip was this completely unique Los Angeles experience.
It was very punk rock.
You didn't know who was going to be on stage that night, who was just coming to have a good time. And suddenly somebody would be on stage, you know, it was out of the crowd. It was just wild.
From the outside, it was a little intimidating. But then once you were in there, it really was just fun.
Each month you got an original production. There was singing, there was dancing, there was choreography, there were amazing costumes, and it was very topical.
And I would have planned my whole month around it.
You know, we came in with some alternative music, alternative vibe.
And there literally was a gay mosh pit.
Where else would you find 600 people every single month? And then it happened. We were so popular, the police came.
And then all of a sudden we start seeing red flashing lights and see fire marshals in the club. And at first you're like, are they in drag? And you're like, oh no, we're getting busted.
But that's what I always loved about Dragstrip, is that it's in your face, it's gritty, it's gross, there's no bullshit.
It says something very special about Gina and Paul B as people. They provided a fantastic venue for people that didn't really fit the kind of stereotypical gay norm.
I don't really know about actual tears, guys. I mean, it's Dragstrip.
To have the best club for 20 years, amazing.
I love Dragstrip. It's hard not to be enthusiastic about it. I'm sorry it's gone.
Oh, Dragstrip 66 makes me so happy. To find out more, go to DS66, thefrockumentary.com.